What happens when a small nation defies global trade rules and takes on a corporate giant? Djibouti's decision to kick Dubai's DP World out of its most valuable port sent shockwaves through the world of international trade. Was this an act to defend its sovereignty, or a greedy gamble that could backfire and cost Djibouti everything? In this episode, we take a look at the dispute between DP World and Djibouti, unpacking the arguments, the laws at play, and the potential fallout. Let's get to it. Let me paint you the picture of a small nation with a massive advantage. Djibouti is sitting quietly at the southern tip of the Red Sea, controls access to one of the busiest shipping lanes in the world. Every day, about 10% of the world's trade flows right past its shores. It's a logistical dreamland, but as we'll see, the spotlight can sometimes feel more like a magnifying glass. In 2004, the country decided to take a big swing and capitalize on its strategic location. The government partnered with Dubai-based DP World, one of the biggest names in global logistics, to build a state-of-the-art container terminal in its valuable port of Dorale. The deal was a build-operate-transfer agreement, a 30-year partnership where DP World would manage the terminal and Djibouti would own the majority stake. Fast forward to 2009, and the Dorale container terminal officially opens its gates, a marvel. With an annual capacity of 1.5 million containers, it transformed the way goods flowed in East Africa. For Ethiopia, the landlocked country of over 120 million people, the terminal became its lifeline. But let's talk about what it did for Djibouti. By the numbers, it was a tremendous success. Annual revenues ranged between $55 and $80 million, accounting for up to 25% of government income. For a small economy like Djibouti's, it is significant. The terminal also became Djibouti's largest employer, creating 10,000 jobs and cementing its role as the backbone of the economy. DCT sits at the heart of global trade routes near the Suez Canal, making it indispensable not just to Djibouti. Ethiopia, the terminal's largest customer, relies so heavily on it that a disruption here would ripple across the Horn of Africa. Djibouti's economy is so tied to DCT that any disruption could bring the entire country to its knees. Thankfully, for nearly a decade, it worked like a charm, but as they say, nothing gold can stay. Cracks started to show. Discontent had been brewing in Djibouti. The government claimed that the original deal with DP World was riddled with irregularities, accusing the company of securing overly favorable terms through questionable means. These terms, according to the government, sidelined Djibouti from key decisions about its prized asset. And then, in a surprising move in 2013, Djibouti sold 23.5% of the shares in its state-owned port authority to China Merchant Holding International. This was a signal. Djibouti was realigning its alliances and quietly laying the groundwork for a new strategy, one where DP World didn't seem to fit. A report in 2017 revealed that the terminal was achieving only 57% of its projected volume capacity, a far cry from its ambitious targets. Again, Djibouti's government questioned this performance, accusing DP World of neglecting the terminal in favor of its flagship project, the Jebel Ali port in Dubai. According to government officials, the crown jewel of Djibouti, the Dorale container terminal, wasn't a priority for DP World, but rather a side project. By late 2017, the partnership had completely unraveled. Negotiations between the two parties broke down, and Djibouti took its grievances to court. In London, the government of Djibouti accused DP World of corruption and demanded the annulment of their agreement, but the High Court dismissed these allegations, siding with DP World. This legal defeat didn't stop Djibouti. Instead, the country doubled down on its claims, alleging that DP World's management was not only ineffective, but also a threat to the nation's sovereignty. Tension had officially escalated, and then came February 2018, a date that would forever alter the trajectory of Djibouti's trade ambitions. In a move that stunned the global trade community, Djibouti's government unilaterally terminated DP World's contract and seized control of the Dorale container terminal. Government officials justified this dramatic step by citing national interests. They argued that the original agreement undermined Djibouti's sovereignty and accused DP World of failing to maximize the terminal's potential. The message was clear: Djibouti would no longer tolerate what it saw as exploitation. The response from DP World was swift. The company accused Djibouti of breaching a legally binding contract and launched a barrage of legal actions in international courts. Over the following years, international arbitration tribunals repeatedly ruled in favor of DP World, declaring Djibouti's actions unlawful. Despite these rulings, Djibouti continues to stand firm, maintaining that its decisions were necessary for achieving economic independence. The financial and reputational fallout from this decision grows heavier with each passing year. The legal battles have raged across global courts: the London Court of International Arbitration, the US Federal Court, and the Hong Kong Court of Appeal. And so far, DP World has emerged victorious, on paper, with nearly $700 million awarded in damages and interests. Court after court sided with DP World, leaving Djibouti isolated in its stance. Each award reaffirms the binding nature of the original concession agreement. $385 million for breaching exclusivity rights, because Djibouti had allowed a rival operator, China Merchants, to develop competing facilities in violation of the agreement. $148 million for failing to pay royalties tied to container traffic. $200 million for lost dividends and management fees caused by the seizure of the terminal. Then there's China Merchants International, Djibouti's controversial new ally in this battle. DP World accuses them of colluding with Djibouti to undermine its concession rights and push them out of the Dorale terminal entirely. This accusation, combined with China Merchants' growing influence, has raised the stake legally and geopolitically. DP World is publicly calling Djibouti's action a warning to global investors. Privately, the company is relentlessly pursuing the enforcement of legal judgments, determined to either regain the terminal or secure full compensation. On Djibouti's side, it's a high-stake gamble, with its reputation as a trade hub on the line. No matter what, there will be consequences. Developing nations like Djibouti often roll out the red carpet for global partnerships. But what happens when those partnerships turn sour? The Dorale container terminal is a prime example of what happens when global capital clashes with local sovereignty, ego, and corruption. Djibouti might feel confident that business will keep flowing because of its strategic location, but at what cost? This conflict reveals a timeless tension: the need for foreign investment to drive growth versus the equally pressing need to avoid becoming a guest in your own house, which is far too common on the continent. The country's bold moves came with unintended consequences. A growing perception of risk now hovers over the nation, threatening to scare off the very capital it needs to develop critical infrastructure. Zoom out, and you'll see the ripple effects spreading across the Horn of Africa. Its ports are vital lifelines for Ethiopia, which relies on them for access to global trade. Disruptions here wouldn't just dent Djibouti's economy, it could destabilize the entire region, forcing Ethiopia into aggressive mode. Sure, the Dorale container terminal is now firmly under Djiboutian control, but was it worth the price? And no, I'm not just talking about the nearly $1 billion debt. So the real question is, how should Djibouti ultimately pay for challenging the rules of international business, in cash or in reputation? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you want to learn more about the businesses in East Africa, check out our dedicated playlist here. Thank you for your time, and thanks for watching.